This is James, and I'm here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting February the 19th, 2018. This week I want to work with Lenormand, and the deck that I've chosen to assist me for this week's reading is the Piatnik Lenormand. It is made in Austria by Piatnik. So I have a deck on hand. I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the cards. And as I shuffle the cards, I'm focusing on my usual intention and question for these weekly general readings, and that is, what do we need to know for the week ahead? All right, now I'm going to go ahead and cut the cards. Fan them out. And I'll be working with a line of 5 this week, so I'm looking for 5 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. That's 2, 3, 2 more, 4, and 5. So I have the 5 cards selected, and now I'm going to take up the remainder of the deck. And we'll put that to one side. Now I have the 5 cards in front of me. And so when I work with a line of 5, I always start with the middle card. For me, the middle card represents the focus or the central issue ahead for the week. So taking a look at that, here we have the fish card. Okay, so fish for me, my chief go-to with fish is that this is about money. So we could be focusing on, once again, money, finances, cash flow. Those are all things that I attribute to fish. Now, if it's not about money in the literal sense, and this could just be about exploring ways in which we can become more abundant, I tend to look at this as wealth and abundance. So this could be about prosperity across the board, and if we want to keep it more general. Depending on the surrounding cards, sometimes I look at the fish card as representing depth. So this could be about exploring something, going deeper with something, and we could see if that applies depending on surrounding cards, but that I tend to look at depth with the fish card. And then another possibility, keeping with the idea of money and cash flow, I tend to look at fish card as circulation. So this could be about the ways that we are circulating either money or our energy or something of that nature this week. So some possibilities with fish as a focus could be money, could be cash flow, abundance, prosperity, could also be about depth and going deeper with something, and also circulation and circulating things. So I tend to see that with the fish card as the focus. So now let's take a look at the surrounding cards, because they're going to offer us more information about the central issue. So taking a look at the card at the far left, and I had a feeling when I picked the deck this week that this card was a possibility to show up. So here on the far left, opening the lineup, we have Snake. So Snake is a card. My chief go-to association with Snake are complications and problems. So opening the line up, it could be suggesting to you that there may be a complication or a problem that we are working through. Snake for me is something that coils, so I tend to look at this as a long and winding process, or something that has some level of entanglement with it. Now, interesting thing is that I'm noticing already with the fish card and the snake card, we have 2 face cards going with the playing card insert. So here we have the Queen of Clubs in the snake, and with the fish card we had the King of Diamonds. So there could be a situation that involves a man and a woman specifically regarding either something having to do with financial complication. If we pair snake and fish, a possibility here is a financial complication. It could also be to a complication with either something going deeper, or a complication regarding some form of circulation if we continue with the pairing of snake and fish. But I'm going to go more with my first impulse or my first inclination to think that this might have to do with, some sort of financial complication as the pairing. So again, snake for me can represent a problem, a complication, some form of entanglement, or something as a long and winding process. And with that idea of a long and winding process, meaning that there's some level of complexity to it. Now, this is another thought that's coming in for me. Sometimes I tend to look at snake as the consequences of something. So it could just be saying too, as a result of maybe a financial complication or some sort of financial complexity, that there may be some level of consequence to that. Like maybe we're in that situation, that entanglement is because of some sort of consequence to maybe a prior choice having been made. So I'm seeing that with snake at the outer. So now let's take a look at the card that's in between snake and fish. And here we have, oh, okay. So here we have the mice card. So here we have some level of challenge because snake and mice are both challenging cards. Now, my first go-to with mice is something that is stressful. I tend to look at this as stress and worry. It can also be something that is a gradual decline. I tend to look at this as decay and erosion, but it's something that dwindles or lessens or is diminished over time. It's a gradual progress and process. So there is some level of something gradually dwindling, gradually lessening, gradually diminishing. And as a result of that, if we go with the idea that snake could represent this idea of consequence, then as a result of the consequence, mice could suggest that there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of worry, that we are allowing whatever the consequence is to eat away at us and gnaw at us, because those are also, again, aspects of mice that I tend to look at. So it's interesting too, if we go with the idea here that pairing mice and fish, the center card, then here we have this idea of financial stress, financial worry, something of that nature. It could also be too, if we go with the idea that the mice card in the pairing as the subject could represent stress or worry, then it could be saying too, like the stress or the worry is deepening. You know, so there is that possibility because I talked about depth and something going deeper. So there is that. It's making me feel like this is a week where maybe we're taking a look at maybe some sort of financial complication, some sort of financial complexity, trying to work through that. It's a long and winding process, and the longer it goes on, there's this idea that it's resulting in or creating the sense of worry and stress. And also too, the longer that the stress goes on, it tends to eat it away at us. And that could be physically and metaphorically. I know that as a person who has undergone stressful situations, one of the ways that my body tends to react is I tend to lose weight. And that's another aspect of mice. Mice can represent loss. So I tend to lose weight. So it could be saying too, like, is there a way that you could manage how you handle your stress, right? With mice in particular, it could be saying to take a look at your environment. What are your stressors and how are you reacting and responding to the stress, right? And it could just be a matter of stress reduction. If we go with the idea that mice represents loss, what can you do to best reduce the situations or circumstances that are producing the stress response? So that's how I would look at mice. And now going to the other side of the line, we have moon. Okay, so moon is the card here. So for me, moon is a card that I would typically go to first with the idea of career. You know, so there could be maybe having something to do with one's career and maybe one's earning potential, because fish came before moon, so there could be something having to do with money and career. And that may be where the stress is. If we tend to look at the line, we could say, you know, stress about money, and that may be connected to career with the moon card following if we paired mice, fish, and moon. If it's not about career, then for me, moon can represent something that needs to be recognized. I tend to look at this as a recognition card. So it could just be saying too, like, if there is some sort of challenge, some sort of complexity, some sort of stressful situation with money, then instead of avoiding it, moon could be suggesting to, like, this is a time where we actually recognize it. We actually are saying, this is a thing and I need to do something about it. because the moon card for me again represents recognition. It could also be too the sense of emotional satisfaction. So what would we be willing to do to kind of regain maybe a sense of emotional satisfaction, because mice coming before it in the line could suggest that's also something that is a loss of emotional satisfaction. So that's how I would look at moon. So again, moon would make me feel first go to is career. If it's not about earning potential and career, then it could just be saying to whatever this complexity is, whatever this entanglement is, whatever this complication is, it's time that it is recognized. Right? Now, I talked about this idea because this is coming to me in the moment. I talked about this idea with the snake card representing a woman and the fish card representing a man, and this idea about maybe something having to do with their relationship. With that aspect, then moon is a card about being honored. So there could be a situation between a man and a woman in which either one or the other person in the situation or the relationship is asking to be honored, is asking to be recognized, right? So there is that. And moon with that, it could also be a card of reputation. So it could be placing with the characteristics of the cards, could be saying too, like maybe one person is known for behaving a particular way. In the case of the snake card, it could be saying too, like maybe somebody has a reputation for being problematic, you know, for being complicated, that kind of thing. And then with the fish card, then it could be saying too, like there's a person known for being really deep, a really deep person, right? So there's that, because moon could represent what we're known for, what our reputation is. So there may be something having to do with that, excuse me. And then I'm looking at the inset with the 8 of Hearts. For me, the 8 of Hearts is known as a change of heart card. So it could be saying too, like there's a relationship, a complication, if you will. And with that, there could be a possibility that if it is about a relationship, one of the possible complications could be another person is involved, because the snake card for me can represent the other woman. So there could be some sort of complication that involves another person, and that would bring in the entanglement aspect of the card. But the 8 of Hearts is all about a change of heart. So there could be that. Or also too, this idea about people who have some level of mutual admiration or mutual love for one another. But there may be some complication with that. But that's how I'm looking at moon and the 8 of Hearts. So now let's take a look at the last card in the line. So here we have, okay, so very interesting. We had challenging cards on the one side, and on the other side of the line we have very positive cards. So the card that's ending the line this week is Stars. So Stars is all about this idea of not losing hope. I tend to look at Stars as hope, you know, this idea about being positive, things being cleared up. So whatever the complication is at the opening, here with Stars at the other side of the line, we have something that becomes clear. You know, this idea with Stars, I tend to look at it as like one's hopes and wishes coming true, because I tend to look at Stars as like when you wish upon a star kind of thing. So there is that. The other thing with Stars, Stars is a card about direction and being offered guidance. So it could be as a result of the complication, the more that we work through it. Remember, I said it's a long and winding process. We may get to the other side of it, but as a result of this idea of receiving guidance or receiving clear direction or some sort of inspiration, that's the other thing with Stars. Stars for me is about inspiration. So it could be one source of inspiration, could be that somebody is going to be receiving some sort of coaching. I tend to look at Stars as a life coach kind of thing. So there could be somebody who receives some sort of coaching that's going to best help navigate them and guide them through whatever the complexity or the complication is this week. So that's how I would look at Stars. But at the end of the line, it represents receiving some guidance, some direction, some insight that's going to best help them move through the situation experienced this week. So that is how I will end this week's Oracle Outlook. I'm Jameson Mitchell, and as I wrap up, I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's reading, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Take care.